That's my best zombie impression. Oh, the camera. Ooh, it's gonna drop off. I gotta get it. I didn't get it. What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about Overlord. I just got back from the theater. I'm about to go watch Beautiful Boy, but first I have to record this and try to get it out for you guys at some point today. So we are talking Overlord, produced by J.J. Abrams and directed by Julius Avery, a newish guy on the scene. It stars a bunch of people that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, some unknowns in there, but I was really excited about the premise because Nazi zombies. We have Nazi zombies. I believe this is the first time in a long time we have seen a movie based around something this kind of sci-fi, horror, an interesting mesh of genres here, so I'm excited to talk about it. If you guys don't know how my reviews work, I like to talk about the good, the bad, and then give you my score. I will save my announcements for later. Let's talk Overlord. So Overlord is the story of two American soldiers behind enemy lines on D-Day. That's the description, but this movie is so much more than that. Now, when I say more, I don't mean they take this premise and expand on it and give you a lot of depth. No, it's kind of like a really serious B-movie that takes itself more serious than most B-movies do, but like I said at the beginning of this review, there is an element of Nazi zombies in this movie. Now, we get to that eventually, but really what this movie is in the beginning, it's about the harshness of war, learning things about your brothers, and they're trying to do this thing. They're trying to accomplish this goal that I'm not going to get into in this review because, of course, it's non-spoilers. Now, there are so many twists and turns that happen in this movie, and they were very interesting to me, but what really made it work was the character dynamics. These characters with actors that I've seen a few of them before, like Wyatt Russell. I'm actually a very big fan of his, but really actors that have kind of flown under the radar, and I like that they didn't cast any big names because you can really get on board with these characters and understand why they have conflict or why they really like each other, and that all starts at the beginning with, I think, one of the best and coolest opening scenes of the year. This first scene is intense, it's bloody, it's brilliant, it's action-packed. If you like war movies, the first 20-25 minutes of this movie, it's a war film. Then they get into the whole thing that they're doing, you know, the experiments with the neat, what am I doing here with my arm? But you really don't get into the experiments on human beings until later on in the story, and that's not a spoiler because you know that's coming, but once they really dive into that, then we start to see these creatures and these creations, and it was very well done from a CGI standpoint and practical effects, and some of the bone crunching and just the bloody gore. Oh, it was very intense. This is the first time in a theater all year I think I've just had to kind of do this because there is a scene where there is a person turning into something and just the crunching and the cracking and what his neck does. I'm like, ow, I don't like blood or needles. None of this is working. Let me retract because it worked. It was very effective. I don't like stuff like that, so I was just like, ooh. But if you guys can't tell, I had a really good time with this movie. I was sitting there enjoying myself. It took directions that I didn't think it was going to take, and it dove more into the characters than I expected it to. I thought this would kind of be a mindless zombie action war film, and there was a lot of action and war and zombie stuff in there, but it wasn't mindless. It took its time with its characters, and you really got to dive deep, not just into our main guy, the guy whose story we really follow, who's very likable, by the way, but we dive into these side characters a little bit too, and we start to get relationships. There is a girl and a little boy that enter the story at some point, and you really start to feel for these characters because even though they're these tough, hardened war boys on the outside, they start to feel for each other, and they start to show that on screen, and I really loved what happened there. But then you get into the sci-fi, the thriller, the horror aspects of the movie, and that's another thing that I thought was really cool, is this movie meshes 3-4 different genres together, and it all comes together so clean and cohesively. Now, a lot of people are going to see this movie as mindless, like I said. I didn't. I thought it took its time. It dove into some things, some aspects of the story that I think most things maybe wouldn't have dug as deep as this one did. Overlord didn't have to do those things, but it did, and because of that, I respect it so much more. But I kind of like those elements too. The sci-fi, the horror, the thriller, it all kind of came together. I was scared at at times. Not like jump scared, even though there are some jump scares in there. I'm just sitting there like, oh man, I don't want to be in this situation. But it's also a really solid war film. I just love how it meshed genres. This is just a film to me that's really original, really different. Yes, the concept of Nazi zombies, it's been done before. Call of Duty does it all the time. But they take that, they give us a story, and they give us something interesting and characters to root for. I think you have a pretty solid film on your hands. Like I said, not everyone's going to be on board with everything in this movie. There are some moments when it was really B-movie. And when I say B-movie, I don't mean the Jerry Seinfeld B-movie. I mean it took it from blockbuster level to something that you would see on TV, something really kind of overly comedic, and it doesn't take itself very seriously. But the thing about Overlord is it takes itself very seriously, so when it tries to go over the top, then you have it taking itself seriously. Sometimes those two things can clash, and I can completely understand why somebody doesn't like this movie for those reasons, because when those two things don't meet in the middle, a lot of people aren't going to like it. There are also some moments when they're in this house, and I believe they were in the house a little bit too long. Sometimes in a story, I know you can sit and develop characters and that's fine, but you need to move on eventually, and it just stayed in that location for quite some time. There were a few scenes, and I just got kind of agitated, like I really liked what was happening earlier, and I like what happens next, but this part of the movie, it's not boring, but it's just like, not my favorite. And also, while it wasn't a long movie, there were 2 or 3 moments where I actually felt the length, and that's not good when a movie is this short. I wish they would have tightened it up just a little bit. 90 minutes, I think this movie would have been perfect. Instead, I think it's overly long in parts, and they spend too much time standing around talking when they could be doing the whole sci-fi thriller horror thing. And I mentioned B-movie, there's a character where something happens to him. He becomes this over-the-top villain. He's like the leader of these zombies, and I just felt like that was a little bit overdone. I wish he would have just toned it down a little bit. It became full-on like supervillain sci-fi at that point when I liked more of the horror aspect. I wish the director would have just been like, bro, chill out. But overall, Overlord shocked me. You're going into a movie like this with a premise this dumb and you come out like, wow, that was really fun. I had a blast in the theater. That is everything I wanted from this film. It did its job. It didn't really do anything more than that, but its job was to entertain us and give us a movie that dove more into the characters than we thought it was going to do. And that is why I'm going to give Overlord an 80% really solid movie. One of my favorite in the genres of the year. You guys be sure to go check it out and leave your comments down below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you excited? Are you a big J.J. Abrams fan? Because he produced the crap out of this. I could feel his hands. Be sure to like this review if you want more. I'm going and watching Beautiful Boy here in about 20 minutes, so I'm going to have to put this review out a little bit later. You guys are the absolute best. Woo! And I'll catch you later.